For years, wild boars have been a massive challenge for farmers and rural communities across North America. Tearing up crops, rooting through fields, and creeping closer to homes. Many have turned to expensive, high-tech systems. But what if a rustic drop trap, placed at the right time and following the pig's habits, could capture the whole herd? Here's how they made it happen. Discover the answers below. The rapid spread of wild pigs isn't just natural. Beyond their remarkable adaptability and fast reproduction, human influence has played a big role over decades. From past attempts to farm wild or hybrid pigs, to individuals escaping or being relocated for hunting purposes. The problem isn't confined to a single field or farm. Feral swine have been recorded in at least 35 US states, causing an estimated $2.5 billion in annual agricultural damage and control costs. In short, this is no longer a one-off nuisance. It's a long-term wildlife management challenge. Faced with mounting losses, the management team decided to take a different approach. Instead of chasing or using disruptive measures, they focused on observing the herd and analyzing behavior before intervening. Chosen solution? The drop trap. Simple in design, yet capable of controlling an entire herd at once. The trap isn't meant to scare the pigs. Materials were chosen to minimize suspicion. No shiny surfaces, no eye-catching details, just strong enough to hold the herd when needed. Cameras and monitoring systems act as eyes in the field, tracking arrival times, herd size, and movement patterns. Every decision is based on data, not guesswork. At first, the trap remains inactive. Food is placed in the same spots within the trap area for several days. This encourages the pigs to approach freely, reducing caution. Waiting isn't procrastination. It's a critical step in responsible wildlife management. Only once the herd's behavior stabilizes, the full group consistently shows up, and no unusual signs appear, does the next phase begin. This is the most delicate moment. One premature trigger, a few pigs escaping, and the whole herd becomes trap shy. The team waits for the exact signal, the herd fully inside and comfortably feeding. When the moment comes, the trap drops. Thanks to its design, the entire herd is captured in one sweep, minimizing the chance of stragglers continuing to damage nearby areas. The process is quick, precise, and safe, for both humans and the environment. When the lights come on, the result speaks for itself. The trap's effectiveness comes not from fancy design, but from reading behavior and choosing the right moment to act.
good. I'm just kind of being calm.
I say.
Dang, son. I did not realize that hole was that.
The lesson here? Value doesn't lie in complexity or cost. It lies in understanding behavior and timing interventions properly. In wildlife management, acting at the right time and in the right way delivers far more lasting results than rushed reactions. Sometimes, the simplest methods are the key to balancing crop protection, community safety, and environmental responsibility.
Here is where Mexico.
One, two, three. pigs and
Taking advantage of the weekend, my family returned to Butler, a small town in Choctaw County, to visit my grandparents. It was meant to be a peaceful trip until we realized a looming danger was spreading through the neighborhood. Wild boars were appearing everywhere, invading home gardens, destroying property, and keeping residents in a constant state of alert. When wildlife pushes this close to residential areas, it's no longer an individual problem. It becomes a shared threat to the entire community. Action had to be taken, and it had to be taken early. This is not a recreational hunt. This is population control for the safety of the community. To minimize physical strain, ensure effectiveness against large groups, and avoid unnecessary injury, we chose trapping over traditional methods. Stay with us, because what happens next may not be what you expect. Installing the monitoring equipment. Before setting any traps, we installed a camera monitoring system to accurately assess the size of the herd and their movement patterns. Infrared cameras were securely mounted, recording day and night and activating automatically whenever motion was detected. In addition, cellular trail cameras allowed us to receive images in real time. This made it possible to identify the right moment to intervene and, crucially, avoid catching only a single animal. One of the most common mistakes in wild boar control, often leading to ineffective results and making the remaining herd even more wary. Setting up the boar trap. Based on the data collected, we proceeded to install a drop trap, a vertically falling trap widely regarded as one of the most effective methods for capturing an entire herd at the same time. The trap frame is built from heavy-duty steel panels and firmly anchored to ensure safety and stability when it drops. A remote activation system allows the trap to be triggered at the exact right moment, only when the cameras confirm that the entire herd is inside. This approach minimizes panic and prevents animals from escaping, which is critical in effective wild boar control. The bait used is typically corn or fermented grain, highly attractive to wild boar. Wild boar are intelligent and powerful animals, so I came up with a deliberate strategy, feeding them the same bait they love for several consecutive days. This creates a routine for the entire herd, lowers their guard, and builds familiarity with the trap site. Only after fully understanding their movement patterns, habits, and accurately identifying the timing of their appearance did we take action. Trap. After many nights of monitoring, the herd of wild boar kept returning to the same area, devouring the bait, tearing up the ground, then disappearing without a trace. Instead of rushing to set the trap, we chose patience. With wild boar, haste almost always leads to failure. We begin with pre-baiting, spreading bait and setting up monitoring cameras. The footage showed the herd arriving consistently, but there were always a few individuals hanging back, watching from the outside. That was a clear signal. It wasn't time to set the trap yet. Only when the entire herd moved in together, When their guard was fully down, were we ready for the next step? The Boar Buster trap was installed right at the familiar site, paired with a remote trigger to give us full control over the timing. When the camera feed confirmed that the whole herd was neatly inside, we didn't hesitate for a single second. The trap was activated. 2 successful control operations at the same location proved one thing clearly. When the process is done right, the results can be sustained over time. The neighborhood returned to peace, damage dropped significantly, and residents no longer had to live in fear night after night. This is not just a story about catching wild boar. It's about responsibility to the community, about safety, and about taking control of a situation rather than constantly chasing after the consequences.
And the
Transportation. After the operation concluded, wild boar were transported in specialized containment cages, ensuring safety and full compliance with state regulations. Every step of the process was carried out with care, minimizing risks to both people and the surrounding residential areas. All captured boar were removed from the trapping zone and handled in accordance with state and local government regulations. The immediate threat was eliminated. The area returned to a temporary state of calm, and the team's efforts resulted in outcomes that truly reflected the work put in.
Come on now. Come on now.
Wild boar control is not a matter of a single day or a one-time operation. It is a long-term process aimed at protecting communities, land, and public safety. The boar may return, but with the right approach, coordination, and disciplined decision-making, we can stay ahead of the situation rather than constantly reacting to its consequences. This is a shared responsibility, and it is how a community protects itself. The sight of wild boars wandering into urban areas is no longer rare. It's becoming an escalating problem. At first, muddy tracks and minor crop damage might seem harmless, but things quickly spiral out of control. Today, wild boars roam neighborhoods freely, leaving destruction in their wake and damaging public infrastructure. This issue has moved beyond ecology. It's now a community safety concern. Without timely intervention, incidents like these are almost certain to repeat. This situation shows that communities need to shift from a reactive stance to a proactive approach in managing wild boars, coordinating closely with local authorities. So, what's the most effective way to tackle this before things get worse? Let's follow our journey to find out. You can't just set up a cage trap in a rush. Installing one takes hours, sometimes an entire day, because every detail must account for the boar's movement patterns. Placement is everything. Observing footprints, dug-up soil, and known pathways is key to determining where the trap will work best. The cage is reinforced to safely contain multiple boars at once. The trap's space is just right, so the animals don't sense anything unusual, while the gate snaps shut automatically when triggered. Quick and silent, minimizing disruption to the surrounding area. This approach reduces unnecessary stress, keeps the herd calm, and ensures relocation is carried out responsibly. With all preparations complete, the wildlife control team waits patiently. As night falls, the world grows quiet, and the traps sit ready for action. The first signal comes in tense moments. The lead boar enters the center of the trap. Sensing the perfect moment, the team leader releases the gate, securing the boar safely inside. This is the result of careful observation, precise calculation, and flawless teamwork. Not far away, other traps show positive signals around midnight. Each herd is controlled, preventing them from returning to the neighborhood. This is modern wildlife management in action. Effective, humane, and timely intervention to prevent invasions.
Yep.
Once trapped, wild boars are transported carefully and orderly. Though contained, their defensive instincts remain strong, so minimizing stress and injury is critical. Protective gear and specialized equipment are essential, showing respect for both the animals and nature. Boars are placed in sturdy, well-ventilated transport crates, ensuring safety for both humans and animals. Every movement is meticulously planned to avoid panic or harm. This process isn't just transportation, it's a lesson in coexisting responsibly with wildlife. In certain licensed programs, biological samples may be sent for research to monitor populations and ecosystems. All actions comply strictly with federal law and food safety regulations. Cage traps are a responsible way to manage wild boar populations. They allow humans to protect crops and property while minimizing negative impact on wildlife. With careful observation and timely intervention, we can safeguard production and maintain ecological balance.
huh?
In just a few minutes, a herd of wild boars can transform a peaceful backyard into a ravaged field. Trail cameras, deep in the forest and increasingly on the outskirts of residential areas, are capturing a disturbing reality. Wild boars no longer stay confined to their natural habitat. Sometimes, it's just one boar probing the boundary, but more and more often, entire herds of 15 to 30 boars appear in backyards, cultivated fields, or even on the streets, causing total destruction in just minutes. In the US, wild boars are estimated to cause billions of dollars in damage annually to agriculture, infrastructure, and private property. The destruction of farmland, uprooted lawns, and damaged irrigation systems has forced many communities to spend vast amounts of money on repairs. This is no longer a rare encounter. It is an escalating conflict that directly affects community safety, livelihoods, and the living environment of residents. In response to this situation, many localities have abandoned traditional methods like hunting individual boars, which are costly, inefficient, and prone to scattering the herd. Instead, large-scale cage traps and drop traps are being used to capture entire herds in one intervention. The key to success lies in technology. Remote surveillance cameras allow real-time tracking of herd behavior, accurately counting the boars entering the trap and avoiding non-target wildlife. Only when the entire herd is safely within the trap zone will it be triggered. This approach helps reduce the risk of any individual escaping to continue reproducing, limits stress and injury, and prevents the herd from scattering, which can cause chaotic movement. In modern management, the goal is not to catch quickly, but to control effectively. In residential and suburban areas, every decision must be made with careful consideration. In just minutes, a herd of boars can destroy a garden and tear down fences. More importantly, they pose a real danger to pedestrians, pets, and create severe risks for local traffic. Therefore, all trapping activities must strictly adhere to legal regulations and safety standards. Furthermore, humane principles are a top priority. Catching dozens of individuals in a trap is not considered an achievement. These are data points for management, used for forecasting, resource allocation, and long-term strategy development. The success of wild boar trapping campaigns clearly reflects one reality. When the environment changes, humans cannot stand aside. Wild boar control is not a war against nature. It is a process of adjustment to restore balance between humans, animals, and ecosystems. With data, technology, and a humane approach, wildlife management can become a sustainable solution, reducing damage, protecting communities, and respecting natural life. This is not just an issue for today. It is a long-term responsibility for the shared living space we all occupy. If you're interested in seeing how humans responsibly manage wildlife, subscribe to the channel to follow the next real-world situations. In the US, wild boars are booming across many states, especially in the South. In Japan, they're moving deeper into residential areas as forests can no longer contain their rapidly growing populations. How do you control a smart, aggressive, and extremely cautious animal while keeping humans and the environment safe? Let's find out. In Japan, wild boars are a top pest for agriculture. According to local reports, they cause billions of yen in crop damage every year. An aging rural population, a shortage of professional hunters, and the extinction of natural predators like wolves have pushed boar populations out of control. Local authorities prioritize carefully managed traps to protect both crops and communities. Farmers often use rice bran, a cheap and easily available bait with a strong scent that wild boars find irresistible. Instead of activating traps immediately, they build trust. For days, sometimes weeks, bait is spread evenly, and both trap doors are left wide open, allowing boars to come and go freely. After repeated access to a stable food source, the boars gradually let their guard down. They step deeper into the trap, unaware that the mechanism is silently armed. Successful trapping not only protects the upcoming harvest, but also reduces the risk of boars entering residential areas, where they could pose a direct threat to humans. Boars are not always careless. Often, not all members enter at once. Some feed while others watch from outside. This shows their high intelligence and vigilance, forcing operators to carefully time trap activation or accept catching only part of the herd at a time. Damage isn't limited to agriculture. Wild boars can carry diseases affecting livestock and pose health risks to humans. Heavy-duty steel cage traps are preferred in dense forests or near residential areas, where firearms pose high risks or are legally restricted. Cornered in tight spaces, boars can become extremely aggressive. Every approach must follow strict safety protocols. In some cases, trained dogs interact safely with boars through the steel mesh. This familiarizes them with the animal's scent, sounds, and aggressive reactions without direct danger. These dogs then play a vital role in tracking herds deep in the forest, where cage traps are less effective. Once a boar is securely trapped, licensed electrical devices are often used in confined spaces. Electrical control is considered safe and efficient, minimizing human risk and reducing unnecessary stress on the animal. In many invasive species programs, trapped animals are handled according to strict protocols. Releasing piglets out of temporary compassion can worsen the problem as they quickly mature, remember trap locations, and continue reproducing. This is not cruelty. It's science-based, practical responsibility. After quarantine, these boars can be used as food or livestock feed, turning a community threat into a useful resource, closing the wildlife management cycle safely and responsibly. Proper control protects today's crops and ensures the safety of communities for the future. According to environmental reports, wild boar populations in some regions have more than doubled over the past few decades. When a wild boar suddenly appears inside a crowded restaurant, on city streets, or right next to residential homes, the question is no longer just what happened, but why are encounters like this becoming more common? Between the need to protect public safety and the responsibility to conserve wildlife, where is the line that allows both humans and animals to coexist? Imagine sitting in a restaurant, waiting for friends, or enjoying a quiet meal when an unexpected guest walks in. That scenario became reality on New Year's Day at a barbecue restaurant in Gumi City, Gyeongbuk Province, South Korea, when a wild boar wandered into a crowded public space. In South Korea, wild boar appearing near residential areas is no longer rare. In some forest regions, population density is estimated at 3 to 4 animals per square kilometer. This rapid growth not only affects agriculture, but also creates serious challenges for animal disease control, especially concerns related to African swine fever, ASF. To reduce the risk of wild boar moving into residential zones, control measures are often deployed along forest boundaries. One common method is the installation of specialized cage traps, familiar sights to hikers and residents living near mountainous terrain. These measures are not designed to harm animals, but to manage movement and reduce conflict between humans and wildlife. For people living close to the forest, these traps are not symbols of capture. They represent a fragile boundary between safety and danger. To understand why such measures are widely used, it's important to see how they function in real-world conditions. The operating mechanism of a cage trap is relatively simple. When a wild boar enters to access the bait, it unintentionally triggers the latch system. The front gate drops automatically, securing the animal inside. Most traps are around 2 meters long and built to accommodate large adult boar. Trap effectiveness depends not only on design, but also on weather and boar behavior. During warmer months, abundant natural food makes wild boar more cautious and less responsive to bait. In contrast, winter food shortages push them toward concentrated food sources. Cold temperatures help scent travel farther and last longer, while snow limits mobility. When boar locate a reliable food source under these conditions, they tend to commit quickly, making trapping far more effective. Many cage traps use a one-way drop gate system. Once the gate falls, the exit is fully locked, preventing escape and allowing for more effective group control. The presence of reinforced cage traps reflects a reality faced by communities near forested areas: constant readiness against wild boar intrusion. These systems are considered necessary tools to protect crops, property, and public safety in foothill and mountain edge communities. When space becomes restricted, wild boar often respond by charging or attempting to jump. For this reason, traps must be constructed with strong materials and sufficient height to ensure safety for both animals and people involved in control operations. Using these methods helps slow the rapid reproduction rate of wild boar populations. In certain cases, and where regulations allow, it also creates opportunities to relocate animals farther from residential areas. This contributes to ecological balance while reducing risks to human communities. On large farms in the United States, wild boar are often transported to specialized facilities rather than handled on site. This requires a closed, carefully controlled process to ensure safety. Transport cages are securely locked and reinforced. At staging areas, animals are placed in shaded environments and given water to stabilize before being transferred to authorized agencies for further handling under established regulations.
2, 3, 4, 5 bigger hogs. Hey, I'm not for sure.
When wildlife moves closer to human life, the solution is not panic, but early, informed, and well-planned decisions. Human-nature conflict is not a matter of winning or losing. It is a process of learning how to coexist. Reinforced traps and structured relocation procedures reflect human efforts to reduce conflict with wildlife. However, the most sustainable solution lies in thoughtful land use planning and the protection of forest ecosystems. When humans respect nature's boundaries, nature is far less likely to cross ours.